There's cases popping up worldwide, especially in North America, with various Christian groups who have refused to abide by uh, the ordinances that were dealing with their man-made temples not to be open during this supposed pandemic. And I understand people's frustrations, but I think people are not understanding the problem that's going on. Christianity has secularized itself. It's uh, it's entered itself into uh, a mixture into the legal system, which has rendered it powerless because of this intermingling that is not supposed to be happening, or this unequal yoking. They don't realize when it said do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. That also meant in claiming of title and entering into Caesar's monetary system, of which he can govern based on these registered religions, or we'll call, in this case, we're dealing with these registered Christian faiths that are playing around with the money system at the same time. Now that's a problem, because that is not something that Scripture will, basically support. Now they're waving, and this one that happened in Elmer, Ontario, we're waving that the government's violating the charter, and I've heard this from many people, but the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is dealing with rule of law, and when you subject your faith into a legal designation, which it shouldn't be, it's spiritual, you're asking for trouble, because there are no absolute rights. These are conditional upon how they dictate what you can and cannot do. So it's very hard to get people's head around that, because a lot of people think that there's some absolute right in this 1982 Constitution Act, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. There are no absolute rights in there. There's no absolute rights in any legal system. They're all conditional upon you basically following the dictates of the legal system. Yes, they'll allow people who wish to do official public business for private dishonest gain by entering their private name into claiming a share in the use of the licensed public state surname, but they're sadly mistaken if they think they can just walk around and do as they please and say they have the charter to back them up, because it doesn't. If we look at Scripture, we're going to go to, because these are all man-made temples we're dealing with, and I'm wondering, well, what did Paul say? And I'm certain that these Christian groups have the Bible, and I'm sure that that group that was in Elmer, Ontario, that got shut down, claiming that they were being violated, maybe they should be looking into Paul's words at Acts 17, verse 24. And he states, God that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands. So does God need these man-made temples? Now we know Scripture has also said that basically we are the temple, and God dwelleth in us, because he's the one who brings the breath of life, the gift of life. So as he breathed into Adam in the beginning of his perfection, and so therefore, if we are if we are really the temple of God, would we not be defiling that by entering that and putting our spirit into a legal, civil, pagan body corpus title, by making claim to it for private gain? I think takes a lot of it'll take a lot of thought for people to realize that God doesn't reward bad behavior, and so their system can have a very strong hand against us when we're involved in this double-mindedness, thinking that we can have private gain to public title and then not be tracked and not be regulated by the very source that we're intermingling with. So the concern here is that when you're in the wrong, you're in the wrong, and that's how you empower evil to do what it does. So even though it may look like they're being infringed on, they don't realize they're the infringers, and they can dictate to them because they dictate what goes on with their legal title and money. And those churches are exempt only on the taxes they have on their property, and based on the fact that they can support themselves with money that comes in through the the robbing of the public for private use, and therefore the government will regulate and enforce what they subsidize. So they subsidize these places to be tax exempt. They have the right to regulate them. These people are not separate, and therefore they're experiencing the just desserts that goes with deserting God, and thinking that you can play both sides. So unfortunately, it looks very frustrating and disappointing for these faith seekers, but unfortunately they're making a grave mistake.